If someone told you you needed talent to paint or you needed to be born with talent, they were wrong. I can show you a few easy steps to learn how to paint a painting, starting from scratch. Let's go. When you start painting, it's easier to start with a photograph because when you're out in plein air, you will find the light is moving constantly and changing what you think you're painting. So it's easier to learn to paint at home before you branch out to go out into the great out of doors. Take a photo or find a photo that you like, something that you think would be enjoyable to paint. Don't try to paint something that's not interesting to you. You also want to get a photo that's got shadows and light. Take your photograph and grid it into 9 squares. I'll show you how. This is called the rule of thirds. It helps you determine where your center of interest is. I'm preparing now to do a preliminary sketch just to see if I like what I'm seeing. Now, to start your painting, you may want to do a sketch just to make sure you know where you're going. Once you've got your painting blocked, you can do your outline. And the outline is just the basic structure. Depending on what I'm painting, I sometimes will use yellow ochre for the outline. If it's a landscape, I do tend to use yellow ochre. If I'm doing a seascape, I tend to use a red iron oxide because the bits of reddish orange that show through with a lot of blue are very nice. So after the sketch, I decided to do a little preliminary study. This is the center of interest where the light is, and the light on the fence adds to that picture. I thought about leaving out that left upper corner tree, but then I realized it actually helped to explain the cause of the shadow on the pathway, so I left it there. And I'm thinking I might get rid of these trees. Remember, cadmium paint is toxic to humans. Now this is my usual color palette for landscapes. You always want to set your paint out before you get started because you don't want to interrupt your process. So I use Gamsol odorless mineral spirits and the M-gram walnut oil for a medium. Although as time has gone by, I tend to be using more of the odorless mineral spirits and less of the medium. You definitely want your darks first, and you can almost set the tone for your value, and the value means dark versus light. You can set the tone for your value by your underpainting, and it can always be changed, so don't worry about it if it's too dark, too light. It's always fun putting the colors in because they're just placeholders and they help you to know sort of what it's going to look like, but not as good as it will be in the end. So the block end's done. I didn't do the fence post yet, but that's next, and then I'm going to start to do some refinement and details. So I probably waited to do the fence because I think that's the hardest part of this painting. And I keep reminding myself, you always paint the ugly first, and then it always gets better. So keep working at it. So I'm still covering the block in and playing with a little color. And at this point, I'm trying to get a lot of different colors in the trees to make it more interesting. You may have seen examples of the pointillist style. I was kind of laughing to myself as I was doing this because I normally don't paint with these little bitty dots everywhere, but I did really like the appearance of the dots on this tree, and in the end I carried it over to the other trees. In the case of my painting here, the fence was really the most difficult part, and so I tried to get some of the background in behind the fence before I started working on the fence and then messed up the background. Sometimes you think that way. So time to get back to the sky. You can use color variation. You want it lighter toward the horizon and darker as you get higher up in the sky. And in this case, I didn't want to get too tricky because I didn't want to detract from the trees. This is also the point when you start working a little bit of the sky behind the trees and putting little dots here and there. It's what they call tree holes. So I'm back to the big tree. I'm playing around with some color variations. Also, this is the point where you want to make sure you get some branches in. You can put it over the top of your paint and then later on add some dashes of leaves and color over the top of the branches, and it makes it look more natural. The last time I painted this scene, I did not put this little distant fence. I think it really does add quite a bit to the scene. Now I'm back to the part of the fence that is front and center that everyone's going to see, and I really need to get right. Nothing like a little pressure. Well, here's the final painting. Let me know what you think.